Good evening, guys. You know what time it is. It's time for tactics. Hey, so welcome back to the Tactics with Trav YouTube channel, where we go through all things tactical when it relates to overboard chess. We do that by going through my games, and I go through a deep analysis that's going to be very easily transferable to your games because we're going to go through every type of tactic that occurred in the game, every idea, step by step. So if you're a 1,000 rated player, or maybe a 1,500 or a 2,000, or anywhere in between, you're going to get a ton of value. So this is the Minnesota Open, and this occurred back on February 22nd, February 21st of this year, 2026. And I played against a very strong 1900 rated player named Barry Lazarus, and he was from the Twin Cities area. But he's a 1900 in this game. I'm a 1644, and this game was very well played, guys. Zero blunders. He played at 90%. I played at 90.2%. So very, very even game, very strong played game on both sides. So let's just get into it. So he plays e4, and I play c5, knight f3, e6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, a6, knight c3, and queen c7. This is the Sicilian con variation of the open variation played against the Sicilian. So he plays a3 to prevent me from going bishop to b4, which is smart because black typically wants to go bishop b4 and threaten to take this knight and maybe even double the pawns on c3. Knight f6, attacking the e pawn. Bishop to e2, developing a piece. Bishop c5 now because I can't go b4. And bishop e3, defending the knight and developing a piece. d6, bishop g5. And the thing about black guys is typically in the Sicilian con, you want to be able to retake back with the b8 knight. So after bishop g5, which is a common threat by white, we don't want to have to take with our g pawn, which would double our pawns on f6. So I'm able to go knight b to d7 here because I created that space with the previous move. Castles, castles, king h1. I think that was a smart move because he is getting his king out of the way of a potential pin on this knight on d4 if he wants to press f4 and fight for more central control. But if he pushes f4 and he doesn't move king h1, then he's moving his knight right into a pin. And b5. And now a common threat by white to go knight b3, counterattacking our bishop. So guys, I got into a deep think here because you know this is a Tactics with Trav channel. We like to get into things that are very wild. We like to calculate complex positions, create traps, do things that are fun. And I got into a deep think here because after knight to b3, I could have just come back bishop to b6, or I could have gone bishop to a7, but I was thinking to myself, what if we take that pawn at a3? If we take that pawn at a3, guys, it gets pretty complicated because if bishop takes a3, we hopefully he takes rook takes a3, and we could pawn fork him with b4, and then we would win a pawn in that exchange because he's going to move his rook maybe back to a1. We win the knight on c3. But what if he doesn't take back with the rook? So this is what I was calculating: was bishop takes a3, maybe b takes a3, and then queen takes c3, and we go up a pawn in that case. And so you always want to think, like we do in our puzzles videos, what's the best move that white could do, and what's the risk reward in this situation with it being an overboard tournament game? Because this isn't a puzzle, but this is a real puzzle in a real game. So if bishop takes a3, and let's say rook takes a3, if b4, what if he goes knight b5? This is what I was thinking during the game. What if he goes knight b5, which would counterattack my queen here on c7? And so even though I had my cute pawn fork right here, his attack on my queen is a more priority level. So that attack on my queen is more important than me taking his rook. So now I got to move my queen, right? So I was calculating the game, queen to b8 to deal with that, to get my queen out of the way of the knight that would be on b5 and maintain defense of this d6 pawn, and then just keep a hold of b file. And if I did that, what would he do? So he would probably go rook to a4, which would get his rook out of the way, but also attack this pawn. And let's just show you what the stockfish line is, because this shows you how accurate I had calculated, and this will go all the way through. So if bishop takes a3, this is what stockfish had. Rook takes a3, b4, knight to b5, so we got that. Queen back to b8, rook to a5, a takes b5, rook takes b5, queen c7, and rook takes b4. So in that long line, guys, that's 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5 moves. If white plays perfectly, they're going to go up a pawn. But we're playing against human beings, guys. We're not playing against computers. So this is why I like to use the engine as an analysis tool to check where my blunders were, but I don't like to use it as like a way to compute or calculate what I should have done in the game. And that's backed up by numerous GMs. Like one of my guys I like watching on YouTube, I totally butchered his name, and I tried to figure it out, but it's GM. He's from Iran. His name's GM Shaheen Lopari Zengane. That's, I think, how you say his name. He totally backs that up and says you don't want to use stockfish or an engine to like tell you what you should have done, but rather just identify what the blunder was and then go through like a human analysis mode of what you should have done instead. So that's much more realistic. So knowing that and being in this game, when I had that knowledge, I was okay with that line because the reward to me outweighed the risk. So I'd be down a pawn if he saw all those moves, and I did calculate all that, or I could go up a pawn if he didn't see it all the way through, and we had calculated like 3 to 4 moves deep. So I was okay in 2 out of those 3 lines going up a pawn versus 1 line that was super deep, and I'd go down a pawn. So some of you might disagree with me on that, but that's why people bluff in poker, because it's not like the guy's going to call you every time. So I took B takes A3, and he didn't take with the rook. He looked visibly stressed, as this style of play will do to your opponent. And he just, after about 10, 15 minutes on his side, took with the pawn. So he ended up taking with the B pawn and did not look real happy, because in his mind, he lost a pawn, because the way he played it, he did lose a pawn. So we took back with the queen. And he plays f3 here, d5, bishop to d2, queen to c7, bishop to a5, queen to e5, centralizing my queen, but our queen's also powerful in the center of the board. So that's the reason I moved back, or I moved to e5. E takes d5, knight takes d5, rook to e1. And so he's setting up the discovered attack on my queen, right? Like if it was his move again, he'd take bishop takes b5 and threaten to take my queen. So we got to move out of the way. But I was thinking, like, what if we go queen g5 and try to set up an attack against the king on like g2? Because if queen g5, we're threatening knight to e3, we could have a nice attack there on the g2 pawn. So I decided to go here to get out of the way. Bishop back to d2, queen g6, bishop to d3, queen f6, and now queen to c1, threatening bishop to g5 and attacking my queen, which is a kind of an annoying attack to deal with, because I got to move my queen again, and I'm just trying to get some other things going. So I moved h6 to prevent this and also create an escape square for my king. c4, b takes c4, queen takes c4, knight to e5, queen to e4, knight takes d3, queen takes d3, bishop to d7. All right, guys, so at this point in the game, it's been very well played on both sides with only one real complicated exchange earlier with that a3 pawn situation, and I'm up 1.15. So this is minus 1.15 in favor of black. Knight c5, bishop to b5, protecting this pawn, but also developing and keeping my bishop more active. Queen to b3, rook a to c8, developing my rook and attacking that knight on c5. Knight to e4, attacking my queen and centralizing and posting his knight on e4. Queen to e7, bishop to b4, knight, and because of that, because my rook is behind my queen, I got to take the bishop. Otherwise, I'm going to lose the exchange for the bishop for a rook. So I take it. A takes, b4, rook f to d8, knight to c5, rook c6, because I got to defend this pawn, because when he went knight to c5, he's attacking this pawn twice. I only have it defended once. Rook e to d1, rook c is d6, creating a battery, but also lining up on the d file, opposing his rook. Rook takes d6, rook takes d6, and h3. Queen to f6, attacking the rook in the corner. Rook to c1, developing that rook and moving out of the way. And queen to f4. Queen to c3. And pause your videos, guys, because what do you think the best move is for black? I'll give you a couple seconds after you pause your video. All right, so this is a pivotal part of the game, guys. It's still a really close game. I'm only up a pawn. That's not necessarily winning. I mean, it's winning technically, but you got to be able to convert that win, and converting wins is the toughest thing to do. So I am going to give myself the shame belt here, because in the shame belt, if you haven't seen our previous episodes, the last couple, the shame belt is from Game of Thrones with Cersei Lannister. She's a really bad character. But anyway, she gets shamed in that show. Don't feel bad for her, because she's really bad. And the shame bell, how we use it in our channel, is when a tactic is made or missed, or something that's pivotal in the game that would have caused you to otherwise win. So I'm going to give myself the shame belt here, guys, because I moved queen to d4, which is shame on that move. Shame. It's just not a good move, guys, because it doesn't really address the position very well. Because what we should have done, and what I should have done, was team up against this b4 pawn and just gone after it and put white really on his heels. And I can use that as like a decoy to get just a much more superior position. So let me explain that. So let's say I didn't move d4. Let's say I had gone here. Let me show you what the line is that Stockfish has. So rook to d4 is met with him having to defend, right? So then he goes rook to b1. And after rook to b1, we go rook to c4, attacking the queen. So it gets our rook on this really important square here. And if that happens, the queen goes back to, say, e1. And then we have rook to c2. Look at that position, guys. Like, that's crushing for black. So, this is what I should have done. Now, I know I said earlier we don't want to use Stockfish for the purpose of saying what we should have done. But in this case, guys, I had seen rook to d4, and that's why I give myself the shame bell, because I saw that move, but I didn't look forward this far ahead on the continuation. So that's why I deserve the shame bell on this. I just didn't see it. Instead, I went with queen to d4, and it just doesn't have the same kind of punch to it that rook to d4 would have had. So after queen d4, queen takes d4, rook takes d4, and rook to a1. So he's like, okay, cool. You're going to take my pawn on b4. I'm going to take your pawn on a6. So I took his pawn on b4, and he took my pawn on a6, but he took it with his knight. B takes a6. Rook takes a6. And g5. So, another reason I deserve that shame bell is because right now, guys, like, how much do you think one of us is up or down by? So I'm only up minus 0.22. So I'm barely up here. But I would have been up a lot more had I actually saw that continuation and played rook to d4. So g5, he goes king h2, king g7, rook a, or excuse me, king g7 was me. He goes rook to a8, h5, king g3. These are all solid in-game moves, guys, played on both sides. Like, he was a very good in-game player. I could tell why he was in 1900, and previously when I had spoken before the game, I think he said he had gotten up to 2100, which would make sense of why he's working off his floor, because his in-game technique was flawless, guys. Like, he made like no mistakes, and he played him very quickly too. So it's like I knew, like, if it was between me and Barry in the end game, like, I was kind of betting on Barry. So I wasn't super comfortable only being up a pawn. After king to g3, rook b2, rook to a4, h4 check, king to h2, king to g6, rook to e4, king f5. Like, these are all good moves, guys. Like, great moves. They come on game review. They're all like excellent moves. Every single one. Rook to a4, e5, rook c4, f6, rook a4, rook d2, rook b4, rook d4. Trying to trade off the rooks if he would let me, but he's not going to fall for this. So he goes rook to b5, king f4, and rook to b8. Shame on that move. Shame. So rook to b8 was not good, guys. That was this is my opportunity to pounce on this. This is a mistake. So here's why. Since he moved rook to b8, if I had seen it, I could have gone rook d6, and he goes rook f8, king e3, king g1, and king e2 with a minus 3.35 point advantage. So if I had seen that, then the tides of the game could have turned again in my favor, but I didn't see it. So instead, I played f5. Shame on that move. Shame. Because I totally missed it. I didn't see it. Rook b8 was not good, but neither was f5. It doesn't show up as a blunder, but it shows up as a mistake. And then moving f5 is a miss. But it doesn't technically show up as a blunder, but it's a miss. So after f5, rook to f8, and after rook to f8, e4, f takes e4, rook takes e4, rook to f7, rook to e5, And guys, like here's why that was also deserving of the shame bell. Because after rook to e5, what do you think the game is? It's at zeros, 0-0. So this game is dead even now. I have no advantage because I didn't capitalize when I should have. Rook to f8, king to e3, rook to g8, f4, rook to a8, king f2, rook to a2 check. I mean, this guy is so solid, guys, with his in-game play. I mean, he was a former 2100 rated player, so this guy knows what he's doing. His technique is flawless in the in-game. He's not going to make any mistakes. Rook to e2, rook to a5, and f3, rook to f5, rook to e3, g takes f3, rook takes f3, and rook takes g5. So he wins back that pawn. I mean, he looked relieved at this point. I mean, I felt like there's no way I can materialize a win here. Stockfish agrees with me. It's a dead draw at this point. But I looked up across the board and I go, do you want to draw? And he goes, yes. And he shakes my hand like super fast. But I mean, guys, this was an opportunity for me to beat a 1900. I mean, he played well. I mean, I played a little bit better. So he played at 90% at the 90% level. I played at 90.2%. So I played very well, except for a couple misses. But there was no flat out blunders in that game, guys. Like, very well played. But you got to take advantage when you play against people like this. This is your opportunity. This was my opportunity to beat a 1900 and gain way more rating points on my way to 2200. Instead, I drew with him, and draw is definitely better than a loss, especially when they're 256 points higher rated than you. But this is my opportunity to win. But anyway, guys, a lot of good tactics to see and review in that game, like that one earlier with this exchange. Knowing the position better with like rook to d4 in that earlier part, in the middle, well, kind of in the early part of the end game, and then back here, recognizing rook to b8 and why that wasn't good if I had actually seen that continuation. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. I did want to say, because this is the first time we're doing this, I waited to the very end of the video for you loyal followers and tacticians. This is the item that we're going to give away. So it's a FIDE rated, FIDE approved chess clock. It's here, you can see it right here. So I got a different clock. So this is slightly used, but I've only owned this for like maybe 6 months. So I lost my Chronos digital clock in a move, so I had to get this. But this has been good, but it's virtually like just slightly used, guys. You get the box, you get the clock, and you get the user's guide here. All that's in the box, but you get this for free. So all you got to do is comment in the video or in the comment section something related to the tactic or a particular tactic in the game, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you think, your take on it. This is not censored, guys, so you can say whatever you want as long as it's, no swearing. But we try to keep this PG-13. But yeah, that's the giveaway for Sunday. And I'm going to also do the Chess Lesson 4 episode for tonight. So we'll see you guys on Sunday, and make sure to say something relevant about this, and you have to like the video as well. And we'll see you on Sunday, guys.